Hi, my name is Louis Caillé from Point Log Solution, also responsible for OpenCanopia.com. This tutorial is to show how to use WireGuard as a VPN to connect two offices together, LAN to LAN. It's intended to be used by my customers in different parts of Canada who have branches and want to link their offices together using PfSense router. So you guessed it, it's going to be PfSense with WireGuard installed and connecting VPNs. We're going to make it simple, so we're going to use a very small network. We're going to have one more router in Montreal, the other one in Toronto, and the network behind each routers. So the plan for the network is quite simple. It's one connection in Montreal, which is provided by the service provider. And this is obviously a false address, a fake address. Same thing in Toronto, we have a fake address, but all the rest of the addresses are actual addresses that can be used to build the VPN. So the network in Montreal is going to be 192.168.1.x. And in Toronto, we're going to use 192.168.2.x. And we're going to open a port that it's going to be the standard port for WireGuard. It's the 51820. So on both sides, so the connection can be established. It's quite simple. Just follow me. Okay, VPN connection between Montreal and Toronto. So Montreal office has a PfSense router and it has a computer which is Ubuntu Mate. Okay. And the router is a PfSense router with yet no WireGuard VPN. We're going to want to use a WireGuard VPN from Montreal to Toronto. So let's see what's in Toronto. Well, in Toronto, we have a computer here with IP address and everything. We have the router, which is also a PfSense. And here we go. We have a WireGuard VPN already installed here. So let's go to Montreal. Since the WireGuard is not installed yet, let's install it. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to Package Manager. See if we have packages available. Yes, we do. We found it here. So this is the website of the package for WireGuard. Well, it is the WireGuard website. So if you ever have questions or things you want to know about it, it's all here. Okay. So let's add this packet. It's pretty fast. All done successfully. Perfect. Let's see also which version of the PfSense we have. This is the latest. We're on 7.0. Okay, so let's do the upgrade before we start. Okay, we're back. Latest package. Yes. VPN, WireGuard, installed, ready to go. So first thing we're going to do in Montreal and in Toronto, we're going to enable WireGuard and apply the changes. In PfSense, whenever you do something, you always have to apply it. So the second thing we need to do is to create a WireGuard tunnel. Of course, we're going to create one in Toronto and one in Montreal. So let's add a tunnel. Okay. Description. It's going to be WireGuard VPN. Port is the default one. So let's use this one. Why make it complicated? And we're going to have to create or generate a key pair. This is the private key and this is the public key. So this is how WireGuard works for security between the two routers. So it's basically the same type of connection you have in SSH connection. We copy it. So this is Toronto. So let's copy it here. So because we're going to have to copy it to Montreal and vice versa. So I've prepared a clipboard on my Nextcloud server. So now that this is done, we're going to have to save that, of course. Save this tunnel. We're going to see the IP addresses later on, okay? So for now, just a tunnel. Apply this tunnel. Okay. Let's say that we want to do the same thing here in Montreal. Same port. Let's create our key pair, copy it, and save this. Apply changes. There we go. This is Montreal's public key. So that means that we have created a new interface. By default, it will not automatically assign the interface to your router. So we're going to have to do that manually. We add it. Then we're going to go there. We're going to rename it. You don't have to do that, but since it's the normal way for WireGuard to name its interfaces, let's do that this way. We enable it. Okay. So it's going to be a static IP. Okay. IPv4. And we're going to put it here. Okay. So here we're going to have to put the IP address of the tunnel, not the network. So the tunnel is the network that makes routers talk to each other, but not network to talk to each other. So this is the tunnel IP address. I recommend always to put IP addresses that are so different than your regular network, so you don't mix them up. So let's say that Montreal is 10.10.10.1, and to make it simple, let's do that at 24. And with this 24, you could add many routers to your VPN. Okay. Let's not do any upstream gateway right now. We'll do that manually later. Okay. And let's save and apply. Okay, let's do the same thing in Toronto. So now we have our two network that can talk through a VPN. Well, it cannot talk right away. We have to also configure some connection between those two. We could go ahead and configure this right away. But before we do that, let's do some security. Okay. We're going to be very permissive right now because we don't want to constrain our network to anything beforehand. So we're going to make it very open, and then it's going to be a good thing to come back and to make sure that the firewall is more restrictive. We're going to add the first rule. So it's going to be through the WAN IPv4 protocol. It's going to be UDP. This is how WireGuard connects tunnels together. The destination is going to be any. The port is going to be the default one, 51820. And we're going to save that and apply. Let's do the same thing in Montreal. We're already there. So let's go to firewall. On the WireGuard interface, we will also be very permissive because we want the networks from Montreal and the network from Toronto to be fully available to everyone in both locations. So we're going to add a rule here. It's going to be a pass. It's going to be through the interface WireGuard 0 IPv4, any protocol. Okay. Any destination, any everything. So still it's going to be wide open. Let's save that. Apply. Let's do the same thing here. Okay. Now that the routers can reach each other via the internet, and that the network can talk fully to each other, let's go back to our VPN and see how we can connect the two networks together. Here, we're going to have to establish peers. Okay. By doing that, we will have to choose the server. WireGuard typically has no server, but it's good to make sure that the side that has a fixed IP will be the one that manage the connection. Of course, if you have fixed IPs on both sides, you can choose anything you want. So this is our case scenario. We have fixed IPs on both sides. So let's say that Montreal is not going to be dynamic. It's going to be a fixed IP. Okay. So let's assign the peer to that tunnel. So this is going to be tunnel to Toronto. It's not dynamic. So we're going to have to specify the endpoint. The endpoint is the IP address of the public IP address of Toronto's office. So let's do that right now. This is where we put the port. If we want more tunnels on the same router, we're not going to be using the same port for the other tunnels. So if you have two tunnels, you will have to specify a different port. So 51821 for the second tunnel on the other WireGuard interface. Keep alive is to make sure that the connection is maintained. Public key. So this is the key we copied. So since we're in Montreal, we need the public key for Toronto because this is the router we're going to. It's going to ask us for the public key. So let's put it here. Perfect. We could use pre-shared key. So to use a pre-shared key will add another level of security. Now here is the allowed IP. We're going to allow the IP address of the Toronto router to be reachable. So the tunnel IP address will be 10.10.10.2. And since it's only one address, we're going to use a 32 here. So this description is going to be Toronto. Of course, if you have a very complicated network, it's good to have descriptions all over. We're going to allow the entire network for Toronto's office to be connected. So it's good 192.168.2.0/24. So this is a network and not an IP address. So let's make the entire network available. Let's save this. Whoa, we have an error. Pre-shared key is not valid. Of course. We didn't want one. Save. Apply. Okay. So now in Toronto, we're going to assign the tunnel. This is so the same thing. So here we had a description of our tunnel. Let's tunnel to Toronto. Let's make tunnel to Montreal. This one we can keep it as dynamic. The connection will be established and maintained by the keep alive. We can put the same number or any other number. Let's make it 10. Okay. Public key. Okay. This is our public key that we have for Montreal. Since we are in Toronto, we need to put the public key for the Montreal office. So let's put it here. I think I have an empty space before. Let's get rid of that. No pre-shared key. And of course, we go the other way around. So this is going to go to Montreal as a /32. And this is going to be the network for Montreal as a /24 for the entire network. So let's call this one Montreal. And this one will be Montreal's network. We're going to save that. Apply. So now, if we go to our status and take a look at the tunnel, it's not working. So we're going to have to figure out why. So if one is not working, of course, the other one is not working. So we might have done something wrong. This is .232. Okay. We're going to first check the peer. Okay. To Toronto. This one is dynamic. Oh, both dynamic. I did a mistake. We need at least one that is not dynamic, otherwise it won't connect. So let's make, as we said earlier, this will not be dynamic, where we'll make this 51820 and save that. Apply changes. Let's see if our configuration is good. Yeah, okay. So this is connecting to Toronto, and Toronto is working, is still dynamic. So let's take a look at our status. Oh, look at that. It's connecting. So the connection is established between the two routers, and one would believe that everything is fine and then we can connect. Let's see if it's true. I have some doubts. So let's say I want to ping Montreal's router. No luck. Won't work. This is because we've established a network, but we left out the routing. We need to make sure that the routing is done manually on both sides. We want to do that manually because we don't want to affect the general routing for the entire office. We just want to route the WireGuard when it's needed. So let's go to the system here and routing. Let's see what we have. Okay, we're gonna have to do two things, okay? First, create a gateway for the WireGuard and then route that gateway. Okay, so let's start with creating a new gateway. So the gateway is the local IP address. So let's call it VPN gateway. So, and the IP address is our own 10.10.10.1. So this is Montreal's gateway for WireGuard. Whoops. Oh no, we have to assign it to the right interface. Okay, good. So now we have a gateway. Let's do the same thing here in Toronto. Let's not do the same mistake twice. So add WireGuard VPN gateway, and the gateway is the local IP address of the gateway. Let's save this. All the rest can stay the same. Okay. Now we have to establish the static routes. So let's create one here. So the destination network will be 192.168.1.0/24. So this is where we'll be going, and to do that, we're gonna go through this gateway. Okay. And same thing from Montreal. We're gonna have to add our static route. So if you want to go to 192.168.2.0, the entire network, we're going to have to go through this gateway and save that. Okay, now let's see. Let's go back to Toronto and see if we can ping the router in Montreal. Wow, magical. We have a connection. Let's go further and let's see if we can ping Montreal's computer. So this computer here is our Ubuntu Mate computer from which we work in Montreal, and its IP address on the LAN is this one. So let's see if we can ping this one. Yes, we can. So, well, let's try the other way around. Okay, so here, this is Toronto's machine, so it's a Windows 10, and the address is 2.40. So let's try to ping that. Diagnostic, ping 192.168.2.40. Let's ping that.
Yeah.
So I hope you had fun and you followed the instruction up to the end, and then you had success doing your own VPN. If you ever need to have help doing cloud infrastructures and VPN, OpenCanopia do hosting and maintenance of cloud computing using open source software. So see you later and have fun.